Yo, hey team, welcome back to Dix on Twitch. Back today with Naya Depths, a deck that I've been playing recently in paper. It is probably the deck that I play the most, and I wanted to see what it's like after the new bans. What we have here is a pretty normal list. The only different considerations that I have is with Delver at a bit of a high post-ban. The 5th fetch land in Wooded Foothills is really nice. It means that if you start on fetch into Reclaimer turn 1, if it doesn't get bolted, then turn 2 another fetch into Reclaimer activation makes it a 3-4 automatically. So having that consistency is quite nice. Obviously Mox Diamond changes things up as well. And then I've also gone for a Commercial District as a 3rd red source over the Lush Portico. And that's just because we are playing a double forest, 1 plains mana base. Just again, to respect decks like Delver or the Blood Moon decks. So having access to 3 red sources is pretty nice. There was the thought of playing a red-white Surveil land because of Flagstones, but obviously you wouldn't get the value of the Flagstones from the Surveil because you Surveil and then you would have to search what you're sacking the Flagstones to anyway. So I think Commercial District should be fine. And it is a green source untapped, which is quite nice. Removal. 2 extra Prismatic Endings in the main deck alongside Morlock, just to have some control over the board on top of Swords to Plowshares. And then I am just running a 3-night 1 Icetill package because I do obviously enjoy night decks, but I think the full 4 play set, I just wanted to find space for a bit of a lower mana curve, and so cutting the night meant we could still have the Icetill and the one of Minsk and Boo, while also just being able to know that we have a pretty good early game in terms of Reclaimers, Keen-Eyed, Morlock if it comes to it. For card advantage, I've gone for 2 libraries and a Minsk and Boo. Obviously the 4 crops as well. Double Endurance and Keen-Eyed. I feel like Keen-Eyed is just that additional plan of being able to win games. A 7/7 Trampler isn't very easy for a lot of decks to deal with, so it can be pretty quick. And then the board is pretty combo heavy. So obviously Gadok Teague as a Green Sun's target. Flute, I'm still finding my feet with in how best to use it. Deafening Silence is obviously very good at slowing down a lot of the combo decks we need time against to be able to put up extra defenses. Pyroblast, again, just a really efficient removal spell or counter spell when needed. Endurance, I don't have too much graveyard hate post board. I did have Verimacarbs, but I think that the extra endurance and having access to obviously crop and Reclaimer into Bog as early as turn 1 should hopefully be enough, but we will see. I do feel a little bit naked, but I think just it's tough to fit everything in. Carpet, I'm a big fan of Carpet. Probably a bigger fan of Carpet than Choke, as Carpet just allows us to play around cards like Daze. Obviously keep maybe like a 2-lander with a Carpet, and just can, make the mana just a little bit better when needing 3 colors against a deck like Delver that does play Wasteland. Double Force and Collector Ouphe is kind of just stock at this moment. It's kind of like a 12-card sideboard plus these 3. Obviously great against Painter, against the Forge decks. We're pretty happy to see those when we see those. And then just a Dismember to round it out as just a pretty open way to remove threats, especially both Magus and the Harbinger. So we'll see how that goes. Scythecat Cub is definitely an interesting one, and one that a lot of players have had success with in lands. I just found it really hard to fit it in. I would probably be cutting things like the Library or the Minsk, which I just love playing. Probably even like the endings, like having less removal is probably where you want to be if you want to add Cub in. So Cub's obviously fantastic and probably really strong in this deck compared to, say, Maverick, because you do have crop rotation and other ways to get instant speed lands into play compared to traditional Mav. So yeah, tough to fit it all in. That's probably the big thing. Even the 2-mana Balos, like making all your creatures uncounterable, is pretty sweet, and could be a pretty interesting like sideboard card in this sort of deck as a Green Sun's target. But again, I'm not sure if it does enough against those sort of decks, but time will tell. Life is good. Life is really good. Coming up to Christmas, work's pretty busy and definitely a big reason why I haven't been streaming so much, but life is good. Akoleth, welcome. I believe you and John have a noodle review of the Sky Noodle? No, something of the Sky Noodle. State of the Sky Noodle. State of the Nation? State of the Sky Noodle. Which I'm looking forward to very much. We're playing Naya Depths in a Legacy League with 100 play points. We go into gameplay. State of the Noodle. I haven't seen too much coverage from Eternal Weekend just yet. It is on pretty late here, so I might try to watch a little bit back today, but hopefully a good mix of decks. Probably turn this down a little bit. And a pretty nice hand, like opening of turn 1 Dryad Arbor, turn 2 Knight. We do have the crop rotation as like one piece of the combo and interaction, so pretty happy to keep this. The opening for my opponent might give me some direction on if we want to Green Suns turn 1 or hold up crop rotation. Theater into Reign of Filth. Straight away, my mind is just looking at this being a Storm deck. I do play Reign of Filth in... that's a tough one because I really actually wanted to go for the Bog there. I have played Reign of Filth and Ant typically is a graveyard combo deck. So being able to hold up crop rotation there for Bojuka Bog is tough. We do still have that. We do still have even say turn 1 Green Suns for Dryad Arbor and then turn 2 play the Bog and then hold up crop rotation. Crop rotation getting rid of Bog, and then we get to go and get Echoing Deeps, which comes into play as a copy of the Bog we just sacrificed. So as we can't do that turn 1 now, I think now we do just build out our mana. And the question is, do we want to use the Windswept Heath or just play the Forest? I like that the Windswept could be that Surveil land down the line. It could also be access to red mana if we need it, but against this sort of deck, probably not. So I think we're just going to go Forest into Dryad Arbor. There is a small world as well where like just holding up the mana and bluffing a crop could potentially stop your opponent going off, say, at least one turn, but I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think it's better for us just to build out what we have. Well, okay. Now the crop is off the line. And the pedal most likely... Oh, interesting. Wow, using a pedal just to ponder. To me, that signals either they're very close to going off. They decline to shuffle. Wasteland wouldn't be the worst here, but I think if I could have anything, probably just a Green Suns. Green Suns for Keen-Eyed, maybe? Another Knight. Well, I don't want to show red. I don't think red really matters in this matchup, other than obviously potentially being able to hit cantrips. But I'm pretty happy just to go for that Plains. And play the Knight they know about. They obviously dressed us, so they know we can't even have endurance and green card. This might just be the Dyer's Will. Yeah. And this is obviously where the Bojuka Bog crop rotation line's quite strong, but just a little bit too slow for us. I don't have Collector Ouphe in the main deck, but I was very close to putting either Ouphe or Teague in the main deck. I do like having one of the Hate Bears, and potentially that's just the Maverick in me, having one of those in the 70 in the 60. Especially to have a little bit more game against this sort of deck. But obviously not. There it is. The one thing I will say about Storm is that Games 2 and 3, we do have a lot of early disruption, which is nice. Especially Deafening Silence. I hope they aren't some sort of deck that moves away from the combo and goes towards like a creature deck. We played against Ouphe spells last stream, and game 3 they actually sideboarded into initiative, which is pretty interesting. I think we can take out all this. Deafening Silences are great. The Gadok Tiger is great. The Flutes are great. The Force of Vigors are great. The Collector Ouphe is great. The Talon Gates can probably come out. Blast is interesting. The libraries, I probably don't want both libraries, if not any. It could just be a complete change. I mean, the extra endurance is great. The Icetill is probably just a little bit too late game. Yeah. Obviously, there's a fair amount here, but that's just because we are a bit of a dog against fast combo, so we do have to have a lot of early interaction and just really have a lot of different speed bumps to be able to get the pressure onto board that we need to win. I think that's going to be it. Like, the blasts might not be great, so the blasts are probably going to be pretty aggressive towards cantrips. There is a thought of like a Prismatic Ending. Sometimes post-board, when you have Deafening Silence, you'll see opponents play out their LED or their Lotus Petal on one turn to then use it the following turn. So you might have ways to interact, but I think I'd rather just play what I know, and that's exactly this. Would love to see that Deafening Silence. We don't. This could be a turn 2 Gadok Tiger off the Green Suns. But again, I'm never too sure if our opponent would think, hey, they're bringing in a lot of stuff, so we need to go off pretty quick. Or they're bringing in a lot of stuff, so we need to slow down a little bit, interact with them a little bit, and then go off. The issue is as well is that the Green Suns would need to find the Dryad Arbor to accelerate turn 1 to be able to Green Suns turn 2 for Collector Ouphe, so... It feels a little bit too fair, unfortunately. Like, if we play Reclaimer turn 1, then of course we can hold up Bojuka Bog, which is nice, but... We do also have turn 1 Reclaimer, turn 2 land, end step, if we get it, crop away 1 land for Flagstones, and then Reclaimer. Reclaimer away the Flagstones to get an additional land, which then allows us to untap on turn 3 with at least 3 mana, but we're going to get that anyway for fatigue. I think there's a lot of ways to lose this, and I think I'd rather just try to find potentially a 6 with a Deafening Silence. Okay, nice. This is nice as well because we do have part of the combo, and we do have, say, Plateau into Deafening Silence, into land, into Flute. So I think here I'm happy to keep this and probably bottom the Force of Vigor, just because the crop is obviously our way to win with Dark Depths. We do need a green source, but I think that'll come, you know, by turn 4 you would hope that it's here. So I think it's the Force that we drop. Yeah, I don't mind the 61, especially for a deck like Depths where you have so many ways to search for specific things. Okay, there's the green source. I think it's just play Savannah to hold up the crop. Just in case they have like a bounce spell on the Deafening Silence, and then untap and try to go off through the graveyard. We do have the Flute as well, but I'm not too sure what the Flute names. Mox. Okay. That is their spell for turn. I think it's either Echoing Truth or Into the Floodmoor or some sort of bounce spell like that, because that answers both the Deafening Silence and the 2020 if we go for that. I feel like Echoing Truth is the card that I see the most of. We don't need to play the stage this turn. I'm probably not in a position where I really want to Wasteland them. I just want to get closer to the 2020. Ooh. Well, now just in case of like end step Abrupt Decay, untap, go off, we do have Green Sun's Fatigue, which I don't mind because we also get to hold up the crop rotation potentially. Although we won't if this is the spell for turn. I guess they have to hit either the Green Suns or the... Sorry, the Teague or the Deafening Silence. Besage is a good name. Yeah, Besage is a good name as well. My only thought was that they might have more Echoing Truths brought in than maybe like a one of Deafening Silence. Just quickly thinking, is there a world that next turn like a Green Suns for Sylvan Safekeeper is where we want to be, and therefore we don't get Teague? I mean, Ouphe is pretty nice as well. Ouphe does turn off LED, of course. Cradle. I think it's just going to be the Teague. Teague definitely stops a lot of what they want to do. Okay. There's their one spell. Okay, interesting. So next turn we get to actually play the Wasteland, take out their green source, and then still hold up the combo. Yeah, that's a great point. I do like as well that he does turn off a lot of the ways for Storm to actually win. So Besiege, Tendrils. That's their one spell for turn. A Reveal Ritual. They're going to try to do something. Ah, so they do have some sort of removal spell. Chain of Vapor. A land is a pretty great pickup as it allows us to continue the pressure with the knight. And just 6 here as well. Wow, nothing. Okay. I think here it's just attack with the Teak, hold up the knight. They go to 11. And then if we want to Wasteland ourselves, that's +3, which is lethal next turn. Because the knight sacks a land, goes to 7, gets a Wasteland ourselves. They also have to go to discard. There is a world where I activate the knight and in response they say, I guess bounce doesn't really matter. Just gonna have a quick think. So if we get Wasteland, we untap, we have 9 power in play, Wasteland ourselves is 11. If they get rid of the knight here, if we get the stage, the other copy of Thespian stage, then we do have 1/2 of the combo. And then if we copy the Flagstones before damage, we can get rid of the... We obviously then have 2 copies of Legendary Lands. We can get rid of the Flagstones copy and keep the stage copy, which puts another land into the bin, which would make this a 8. So that'll be 10. And then if the Flagstones land... Okay, we can't actually get a Surveyor land off that to be able to put another land into play. I think we do just go for Wasteland. Wow, they go to discard. They didn't even have a removal spell. Okay, nice. Interesting. I don't think things change greatly here. I'm not high on the Pyroblasts. They're really just hitting cantrips, but I think that's better than anything else that we have. The step over Talon Gates in this matchup specifically is great because you get to keep the creature in play. This is a pretty nice hand as well because we have turn 1 Deafening Silence and then turn 1 Dryad Arbor if that doesn't work, which might allow us to turn 2 Teague into, say, Wasteland. Be happy to keep this. Okay. Yeah, it's very true as well. The pyros against the bounce spells are quite nice. We can go for Savannah here and Green Suns for Dryad. And then our opponent might think we've drawn an Endurance. We won't 6 here. I think Crop Rotation would be a fantastic draw. It's not Crop Rotation. We also don't want to show these lands. So I think here it's just going to be Taiga. White, green, big. Back. Thankfully, a fetch doesn't mean that they have the answer. It could, of course, mean a surveil, which it is here, which is nice. And it's just a land into the bin. I think Wasteland, again, is probably the best draw here. Wasteland into Night would be pretty great. Hey, Expedition Map. Very cool to see you. They play the Boseiju. Okay. So they obviously do have the copy of Boseiju. Obviously, like, yeah, Wasteland here would be fantastic. Not, but that's fine. We could act like we have crop rotation by not attacking with the Dryad Arbor. Kind of cool. I could also hold the Windswept for the... Yeah, so actually I think we hold the Windswept to kind of act like we have crop, but also for the Surveil land. We just want to play the Knight here. Then attack. And then sadly pass. They'll have 5 cards plus the Wishclaw. You know the turn's going to be bad if they start with the Wishclaw activation. Also, just if, like, say... maybe not. I was going to say if there's a world where they think we do have crop rotation and they want to play around it, they might wait for us to, like, fetch with the Windswept. But we could just untap. And then we have 3 mana plus 4 mana, which does everything we need to do. So we could actually untap, have the Knight unsummoning sick, and then fetch an upkeep to Surveil, which then still allows us to Knight for Sejiri Steppe to save the Teague. But obviously Knight next turn turning on Bog turns off a lot for our opponent as well, so they need to most likely find some sort of line here. You once had an opponent activate Wishclaw tank for a minute and pass. Tough. It's really tough. I believe I've definitely Vampire Hexmage a Wishclaw on my turn, so they couldn't activate it just to buy some time when I was playing Turbo Depths. Yeah, it's a really cool card. I like how it goes back and forth. Yeah, it's always tricky because typically a deck with Vampire Hexmage is one of the win cons, so throwing it away is never great, but if it's going to stop your opponent from winning, then obviously it's quite nice. There's also, oh, like, maybe I'm getting too deep here, but this card comes up in Highlander a little bit. Blissa, this one. Blissa Sunslayer, which could, I believe what you could do is you could activate your Wishclaw. I guess it's deals combat damage to a player. And then I believe Wishclaw is just during your turn. It's not actually sorcery speed. Activate only during your turn. Okay, so you could attack, deal damage, and then choose to remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. So you could choose the talisman, hold priority, and then activate the talisman, give it to your opponent, get the card you want, but then your opponent has it with no counters on it. So that's just synergy, right? That's pretty cool. Not that I would think it would see play, but kind of cool. Right. Okay. Probably more so just seeing if the coast is clear. I don't think like missing there is a big issue for them. But I do like seeing this sort of deck in the format. Welder Wishclaw, nice. Very cool. I don't think I've ever played against a Rakdos version of Painter. Maybe I have, actually. That's probably incorrect. But I haven't seen that come up, but that is very cool. Especially because if you welder it, you get back the wishes every time. Okay. I can only assume here it's going to be Abrupt Decay on the Galactique. And then continue to go off. However, they... Maybe not. 2, 4, 6. If they chain the Galactique, that puts 7 in the bin, which turns on Cabal Ritual. Rakdos Citadel Storm. Nice. Yeah, I assume here the blue is for a bounce spell on Teague, and then with the 3 cards and the 2 mana, they have some sort of line. But they are taking it quite slow. So either they're newish to the deck, or they're not too sure if their line actually works out. They obviously don't know about crop rotation. They know we don't have crop rotation anymore as well, so... But hey, if you enjoy this content, I'm currently on the ride to 4,000 Twitch followers, which would be very cool to hit by the end of the year. So if you do enjoy Legacy content, the fairer side of Legacy, I would appreciate that. Interesting. Wow. Well, then surely we're just going for Collector Ouphe off this Wishclaw. Get the district. Find something good. That's pretty good. In 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey Panda, welcome. Hope you're well. I mean, finding the other Deafening Silence off this is also pretty good. I think that's just going to be the play. Play the Flagstones. Deafening Silence. Attack with these 2. Then Wasteland them off blue. I feel like the Deafening Silence is just a meddling mage for so many cards. Like Deafening Silence is pretty much meddling mage for Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Lotus Petal in some ways, LED for some ways, Infernal Tutor. It just does so much. And it also means that they have to obviously deal with it first to then try to go off with something like a Teague. The other thought is definitely Collector Ouphe as just like a 1-2. And obviously the Ouphe means they can't Talisman on the way back. Green Suns is pretty perfect because now we just have lethal. We have 6, 7, 8, 9, and the Green Suns can go and get Sylvan Safekeeper. Oh, we can't because of the Teague. Ah, interesting. Interesting. Well then, is it worth returning to Teague? No, because we'd have to tap the Knight. Hmm. Going to 1 turns off all fetch lands. Or getting rid of the green turns off green in play. We took out the Talon Gates as well, but obviously Talon Gates we don't want to Teague away. Hmm. Pretty interesting spot. I think just putting them to 1 and turning off fetch lands is better than allowing him to have this mana. And then we might as well play a Knight. And then hold up Blast. Maybe a little bit too, like, we're not holding up a Bojuka Bog here. Yeah. Thankfully, I do think, like, Deafening Silence and Teague to be dealt with this mana and then also go off is just a little bit too tricky, so definitely nice to get there. But a few different lines we could have taken there. Maybe just to play it a little bit more safe against, obviously, a combo deck that can kind of win out of nowhere. Hey, Misk Man the Man, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Let me know if you play Legacy, what you play, what your local scene's like, if you've watched any of the Eternal Weekend. Oh, I need to update Cardboard Live. Thank you. Here we go. Done. Sadly, Minsc and Boo is still unrecognized by Cardboard Live. On the play? No. Okay. Sometimes when MTGO lags when you open a game, it makes me feel like... I feel like there's a correlation between that and starting the game. A 2-lander out of Depths is never something that I'm too happy about. We do have some cheapish spells, but obviously the Icetill and the Knight are 2 of our most expensive. It does have a little bit of everything, and a land off the top isn't the worst. But I typically like game ones to be a little bit lower to the ground. Opponent's quite well known for playing mono red. I feel like we can get a little bit better in terms of opening hand. Like drawing like another Knight wouldn't be great here. Okay. Keep this. In case it is mono red, I do like the Moxen. In case it is a combo deck, maybe drop the Endurance. But is it too greedy to... Could also be 1 Reclaimer. 1 Endurance. I don't mind that. That would allow us to Mox turn 1, hold up the Surveil land. I'm going to bottom the Endurance, knowing that 2 turn 1 Reclaimers means turn 2 Bog is most likely online. Rift Bolt. Okay. We are up against the near and dear burn. I can only assume. I can only assume Riftbolt means burn, which means we want to combo faster than they can kill us. So I honestly don't mind the thought of Wooded Foothills, Mox, pitch the plateau, holding one piece of the combo, and then going fetch for a basic forest, and then potentially even Green Suns for Dryad Arbor here and Reclaimer over double Reclaimer. Let's think about that for a minute. The ability to Green Suns for the Dryad Arbor means that potentially the second Reclaimer next turn is a 3/4 if they deal with that first. I do want to throw both of these Reclaimers into just 3 damage removal spells. And I do like that this also builds towards crop rotation being a fantastic draw as well, because it'll have crop, 3 mana and stage, which is combo time. I think this tells us a lot about our opponent's hand if they go for us or go for the Reclaimer. They go for the Reclaimer. Wow, 2 mana, nothing. Interesting. Okay, that's a fantastic draw. And one nice thing here is that Thespian Stage becomes a copy of target land. So if you have a basic land in play, it becomes a copy of the basic. Pretty sweet. We'll play this. We will tap this and then pass back. There's price. Okay. So here what we get to do is go 1, 2, 3, copy the basic, and we'll only take 2 damage now instead of 4. Which is a pretty good, like 2 mana, 2 damage. I think we're pretty happy with that. And against burn, it's definitely those little squeezes where you can try to get a little bit more bang for your buck. Play the Depths. We could just attack here, but there's no real point. So we will just pass back. And if they have another price, we can just make our 20/20 in response to get rid of those 2 lands. Yeah, so here, let's go 1, 2. Okay. Claim the Firstborn is a card that got me in Highlander at the Winter Lotus event. The question is, can we just take this and then go for end step? Because, okay, how do we lose? We obviously lose if we go to 0. So at worst is we take 4 here and go down to 13, and then they need to deal 13 in 1 turn, which would have to be bolt, 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 fire blast, but that is only 3, 6, 9. That's 13. We would survive there. It would have to be bolt, 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 and then gut shot as well. So I think we actually just take this just so we don't lose to some weird... Maybe not. I don't know if that's... Yeah. I'm not losing to claim the Firstborn. Definitely got a little bit of PTSD from that card, so... Alright, 3 mana. Bolt Wave. Done. That's going to be it. Interesting. Thankfully, Pop and Fire Blast would only be 8. Because the Thespian stage is a forest. Price is fine. We go to 6. Okay. Just so everyone knows what the card is, this is the card that got me once. Sorcery, 1 red, gain control of target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less until end of turn. Untap that creature, gains haste until end of turn. Stealing a Marit Lage definitely does things to the people. Force of Vigor seems fine. I think Deafening Silence on the draw is just too slow. Dismember is always an interesting one because you are paying 4 life most likely, but the creature you're hitting is most likely dealing 4 over 2 turns. But you are, of course, dealing that 4 to yourself quicker than the creature. So I don't think I'm in a position where I want to be dismembering anything. I think Force of Vigor is great. I think the Icetill can definitely go. The Minsk is pretty interesting and could just get the win out of nowhere. Sylvan Libraries, we're not really doing too much with that. But I don't mind one just to be able to have a little look. Like Flute's pretty interesting. If we wanted to name like Price of Progress. Like that could be better than the that, and like probably Bojuka Bog. We're not really looking at A, graveyard stuff, or B, 3 colors too easily for Prismatic. I think that's going to be it. I think we just want to be quicker than our opponent. That's basically it. And then most likely try to swords ourselves to stay alive, than swords our opponents to be able to keep going. Okay. The Wasteland is really for our own help. This hand isn't too bad against a creature start from them, but otherwise it's very up in the air in terms of what are we going to draw off the top. Hey, Thunder Knight, too kind. Hope you're doing well. Did you get to play Eternal Weekend again this year? I am going to mull this, just to a hand with like a bit more of a plan of what we're going to do. And this is pretty great. We can keep this, bottom the Dryad Arbor, and then we have, all right, turn 1 Savannah. Probably Reclaimer. Could try to hold that Reclaimer up. Goblin Guide. Hit a Yav. Interesting. Okay. I kind of like the thought of Yav here into Reclaimer next turn, holding up crop off the flagstones. Life happens, that's fair. I hope you're doing well. I always enjoy your takes on Maverick. Always cool to see. Okay. Yeah, 10. They have 3 cards, most likely like 3 damage each. Okay, that's getting us closer. Obviously, passing with the mana open leads us into a price. We'll see how this plays out. All right, so we will block. I could just crop now and see if they do anything to the Reclaimer to try to like kill it before it's a 3/4, say, and keep the Goblin Guide. Get the basic planes. Get the stage. Still at 10. Land 3 cards. Chain. All right. The 7. Oof. Play the forest and pass. We do not have a second Flagstones. Float green. Drop this away. They didn't price in end step, so if they have the price, they upkeep. We'll see if they have it in upkeep. What is this? I'm not a big fan of this. There are much cooler Marit out there. Obviously, some people will love it, which kudos to them. But it's definitely not the Marit that I know from Magic. Apologies, map. Apologies. Look, I punt watching my streams as well. So. Oh, I do have the best Marit Liege. It is a Michael Mapson Marit Liege. Very, very cool. Done by Kai Sawatarix. The best. Half Mapson, half Marit. Burn and Ant? Probably not even Ant. What would you call it? Like Beseech Storm? Is probably the correct terminology. That's Ant? Cool. We did see the ad nauseum. That's very true. I assume it's just playing Beseech and Guy as well because of obviously how good it is. Saw a pretty cool list just before of a player playing Geist of St. Traft in Legacy. Did I like it? Oh. There it is. There it is. Yes. This deck is pretty sweet. So this is a blue-white Geist of St. Traft, Quadlum Riddler, Valia deck. Obviously a Stifle, but seeing Geist in Legacy really warms my heart. That is a card that I used to despise playing against in Standard. And to see it have some home in like a little deck in Japan is very, very cool to see. I would love to see it more. It was Ant for sure? Yeah, that's on me. I apologize. Very cool to see Ant. Goofy. Nice name. My two Matlage tokens. Giratina Vista and Koroko Shining Mew. That's very cool. I did play Pokemon as a child, and the card that I do really want to get my hands on as I think as like a germ token is the Pikachu like post office Pokemon promo Pikachu post office. Yes, this one. Obviously pretty expensive, but this card I think is like really nice, and like as a germ, like it's, you know, it's on the back of it, like I think is pretty cool. All right, on the play, which is really nice. With a hand that's not so nice. I typically like to look at a hand and say like there's a plan here, but it's like hold up crop and pray that we get a second green source. So okay, happy to keep this. And just try to get that turn 1 Reclaimer going. So keep bottom the Dryad Arbor. There is a thought of putting the Sejiri Steppe back and then turn 1 Reclaimer. If that survives, turn 2 Flagstones, great. But if we need to play out the Dryad Arbor and potentially get it removed, we can crop rotate in response, which is kind of nice. So I don't mind putting back the Steppe. Definitely some pros and cons for both. This sort of opening as well, our opponents could just think we're on some sort of Cradle control deck. Ooh, just an island. Okay. Probably one of the greatest openings that I play against is Island Ponder. I don't feel pressure from it. I feel like we're on the same wavelength in terms of let's play this a little bit fair. I just hope it isn't like a, you know, Lotus Petal follow-up, and we're all pretty good. Okay, well there's the combo coming along. Okay. Pretty happy just to do the usual here. We'll go and get a Savannah. And then honestly here, I don't mind just getting Echoing Deeps as a copy of Flagstones and going wide again. I would love to be able to go for Marit and hold up some sort of removal as well. And the deep sacking to crop as a Flagstones means that the crop getting forced isn't too bad either. It's a 2-for-1 on their end, which is quite nice. Oh, we just get to untap. Okay. Okay. I think in this spot, I'm pretty happy just to play out the stage. And then we just have the combo if we need to off the crop. And then Icetill next turn potentially. The thought of playing the Dryad Arbor out is kind of nice as well. Like, what are the chances they tap out next turn? Probably pretty small. I'm just going to put it on the field, make them think about it. I don't like that they get a draw here, but can't do too much about that. Interesting crack. They're going to clue here. It's pretty good for us. What is this, turn 3? They only have 1 mana open. So there is a potential there where we should have actually... responded, but that's okay. Oh. Okay. Depths. Copy. What do they have for 1 mana? Nothing. Well. Well then. We have seen these cards. The Bloodstained Mire is interesting, like maybe they're Grixis, but I don't think we think too much about this. We like the Pyreblasts, we like the Carpets, we probably like the extra endurance. The library's probably out. Morlock seems okay. Minsk probably out as well. Any hopes for the Highlander points update? From a player perspective, it does seem like Deadpool is just a hard card to play with and against. I don't think I've only seen a few like actual in-person Deadpools come into play, but it seems like with every Deadpool on the stack comes a judge as well, explaining what actually happens. And it is very powerful. It is a very, very powerful card. I'm not too sure otherwise. I don't keep too close to Highlander in terms of like having the greatest understanding of how each point, or what are some of the unpointed cards that are on the watch list and like their power level. So I don't have like a great opinion on what should or shouldn't be pointed. I do like friend Matt McAnanty does think that like Underground Sea could get a point, or Volk, like the blue jewels, which is very interesting. Obviously, like Grixis is at the top of the game, so I would assume there's some sort of change in Grixis, but hopefully not to the point where Grixis is unplayable, or like you might as well play Rug or Jund, because Grixis's colors is pretty cool. I think the Safekeeper here can come out. I think like one night. Even like trading a Carpet from Mox, I'm pretty happy with. I think this is pretty good. The blasts definitely feel really good. So having like one blast in the opener would be quite nice. We don't have that, but we have a pretty nice hand in that we have an answer to Tamiyo, we have a plan in Reclaimer, we have fast mana in terms of Carpet, so pretty happy to see where this goes. I'm sure it's out, maybe not yet, but I would love to see the scope of the Winter Lotus event, because it was 310 players, so obviously a lot of decks and a lot of data, so I'd love to see like the most played unpointed cards. Like I think one for a long time, thanks to Adrian Preston and his data, I think Emperor of Bones was like the 4th most played card in Highlander, and it's an unpointed card. Okay. I don't really want to throw anything to Daze here, and I would love to see them play another island before I play the carpet. So I think we're just going to go Commercial District pass. They did shuffle their library, however, so if we draw into Wasteland, there's no reason not to Wasteland. We are putting that on top. Wasteland's fine. Okay. Play this. Fetch. Just for a forest. Play the carpet. Nice. Feel like if the carpet didn't get days, we're in a pretty good spot. 3 at white. Try to ending this. Nice. Okay. Now I feel like we're in a pretty strong place. Our mana can't be hit. If we draw a fetch land, these Reclaimers are going to be 3/4s. Come on, island. Can you imagine if they just got a mountain? Okay. Underground sea. Wow, double brainstorm. And obviously this one they can't play a fetch land here, so they will know what they're drawing. They're really digging for something. Crop's pretty nice. I'm wondering if Murktide is a card to think about here. I would say we're quite in front. And so how do we lose this game? And probably a Murktide is pretty close to do it. So I almost want to go... Play 1 Reclaimer. Play the Depths. Crop the Depths away. Or a Bog. Bog them. And now play the other Reclaimer. I'd rather this Reclaimer get dazed than the other... than the Crop. Because Murktide would be pretty bad. Pyroclasm. Ooh, what are they going to do here? Tell me they have a follow-up. Don't you dare think these are 1/2s. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, that's not... That is a little bit funny. All right, Rio. Come on now. Yeah, Spellbomb Trick, very nice. Spellbomb Trick would have been fantastic there. That's a tough one. What's the AED to USD rate for paid actors? It's a playset of Tamiyo's. Yeah, pretty fortunate there. Opponent went to 5, I believe. Turn 1 Ponder, turn 2 Brainstorm. Actually, yeah, turn 2 Tamiyo, turn 3 Brainstorm. But honestly, like a Barrogoyf there would have definitely changed the game a little bit. Barrogoyf a really good threat and would have kept those Reclaimers at bay. We don't have a great out to Barrogoyf in terms of our lands. We can maybe phase it out or Sejiri Steppe for a turn. But Barrogoyf's a tricky one. Barrogoyf is a card that I'd love to play more of in Abzan Mav, but I'm just not sure where it fits. Obviously, when it comes to Maverick, the creatures that are green take priority because typically they're powerful enough, but they also can be found off Green Sun Zenith. But then there are cards that aren't green that obviously are powerful as well. So Mother of Runes, Thalia, Garden of Thraben, Orcish Bowmasters, Barrogoyf should definitely be in there. But I think there is a world where there should be more. I think this game have been pretty good at just making sure we aren't keeping hands that don't have a great plan. And this is exactly one of them. Like having both copies of Depths in the opener without, say, the Yav is pretty tough. So pretty happy to mulligan this. Okay, we actually have a lot of plan here. We can turn 1 Reclaimer. We have Crop, so we can even like turn 2 the combo, which is pretty nuts because we bottom the Forest. We go turn 1 fetch into Dryad Arbor, into Mox, hold up Crop, and then we have turn 2 stage, Crop, Dark Depths. Pretty happy to keep this bottom of the Forest. Ooh, okay. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single creature you control, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Another red deck. Heartfelt Hero. Okay. Interesting. I mean, Swords is a pretty nice out to this. The question is, does a deck like this have protection, or should I just get rid of it straight away? So, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single creature you control, copy that spell. You may choose new copies. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability you control. Okay. So, this is probably a match where we want to play around Price of Progress to some extent. So I think we want to go Mox, Itch the Windswept, play Windswept. We want to Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. And then we want to probably just pass here. Hold up the Windswept Heath as Savannah. And then next turn we have 3 mana plus stage, which is 2, and then 1 for Crop. We are just going to take this, no blocks. Okay. Interesting. All right, play the stage and pass back. They missed a land drop. But they kept the 7, so it's obviously very powerful. Hey, Telperio. Thanks for the follow. Hope you're doing well. Ouphe is fine. But again, no land. Just going to take this. Like, on the odd occurrence, they have a Karakas that is sandbagging. Okay. Let's fetch here. We will just get Forest. 1, 2, 3. Drop this away. Go and get Dark Depths. And do this. this one. Nice. All right. Interesting deck. I think the Icetill and probably an Endurance is just a bit too slow, as well as the Bojuka Bog. There is a thought of bringing in a Force of Vigor, depending on what they have, and say a Dismember, because I assume in this sort of matchup, the creature that they target is going to be a lot bigger than the 4 damage. Like Deafening Silence is interesting. I don't want to sideboard too much. I think we just want to, again, be really quick. But I think having these 3 is quite nice in the deck. Yeah, I was trying to think, like, maybe they were like have green as well and play Berserk. Berserk's pretty cool because you would double. Yeah, you would hit it twice. Maybe like Tifa. That'd be kind of cool. Red Shoals would be cool. Yeah. I think we should just be quicker, hopefully, as we just saw then. There are definitely openings where we can be a lot quicker. But it's also having some respect for what they're doing. It doesn't show their record. I'm not sure if that's just like an old MTGO thing. But here we are. Blazing Shoal would be cool. The decks felt nice so far. I would say like the blasts are a nice to have against Tamiyo. Obviously it hits both sides. You do have Prismatic Ending as well, which does hit both sides, but obviously is sorcery compared to instant. But then as well, Prismatic can be cast off just a basic plateau, plains, sorry, which helps a lot. Pyroblast, you typically need to find the red source if you don't have the Mox Diamond. So against a deck like Delver, where you're dealing with Murktide, having to potentially put yourself in front of Wasteland can sometimes be a little bit awkward. But Blast's just so nice, especially as it hits things both on the stack and in play. I don't think Force of Vigor is a card we want in the opener. Potentially the Deafening Silence is, but even if they have the Leyline plus, the copy is not stopped by Deafening Silence because they're not casting that copy. They're just getting a copy of the spell. So I think like 3 lands, removal, creature, 3 lands, removal, creature, interaction, and then land. So maybe 4 lands, one being either stage or depths. Be kind of cool. Wasteland probably not going to be too big of an impact in this matchup. Again, Wasteland probably more for us in trying to stem some bleeding from price progress. I'm also going to the bathroom for 1 second. I'll be right back. Gameplay. It's a one lander. It's pretty, it's decent, but it's a one lander. That's the issue for me. If we draw one land, it's obviously quite good, but if not, again, it's just part of that overall strat of like, what is our plan? It's pitch a Mox to play a Reclaimer and then hope. I just don't want to rely. This deck is going to be quite quick, I assume. So having to rely on a land off the top specifically never feels great. Even though we do have a lot of lands, there's a lot of hands that I keep where we just don't hit that land. So pretty happy to mull towards something like this. Okay. Bottom the Safekeeper, and then we have 2 mana as of turn 1, which is pretty sweet. Try to move towards that Prismatic Ending. Pretty happy to keep this. There's so many cool cards out now that it's really hard to stray away from the classic 61 for depths. Like the new Badgermole Cub, obviously Scythecat Cub, the Baloth to some extent is really cool. Just wish constructed formats moved to 80 cards instead of 60. Then we could fit them all in and it would just be normal. Right, we will keep bottom Safekeeper. Right. Claim is pretty nice. So here we get to go Mox, pitch, Dryad Arbor, play the Yav, and then it's either play Reclaimer or hold up. Play Reclaimer, hold up crop for Flagstones next turn. Or we get to Prismatic this right away and then just hold up the crop as well. I don't want to play out the Reclaimer without crop. So I think we just play what's on board. Ooh. I mean, Wasteland here would be great, or a land to Wasteland away. We will play this. I almost want to Wasteland it. We're not going to filter out anything. Like, when do we get a chance to Wasteland against this deck? Not too often. And Wasteland would also turn this Reclaimer into a 3/4, which is quite nice. So I think just in case they respond to the fetch, we want to crop first. Now play the Reclaimer as a 3/4. Pass back. Obviously a land off the top would be fantastic. Dismember. Okay. Now we just pass back. Gonna turn this Yav into a Flagstones. Either they're flooding or they do have a higher curve that I just did not think about. I would say this deck can probably perform on 2 to 3 lands at most. I wonder if they're like a Tifa deck. They find a mountain. Huh. Did not expect that. I think here we're just going to get both basics to save ourselves from a potential Blood Moon. Maybe not both. Yeah, honestly, I don't think we care about Blood Moon at this instance. Would just be stage. Move towards the combo. Play this. Attack with Reclaimer, play the Knight. Hold up, Dismember. Interesting. Just a pass back. We did take out the Safekeeper. Oh, maybe not. Oh, no, we put it back into the deck. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Just in case they have some... Yeah, okay. I think we can just Safekeeper here, attack with the Knight, hold up the Reclaimer, and then win over 2 turns. They might have had Endurance there, but obviously don't. They're down to 8. We now have Talon Gates open. We have Sejiri Steppe open. Okay. Okay. Apologies, opponent. Very interesting. Would be cool to get the trophy, but I think he would just want to take it game by game, turn by turn. Make sure we're just taking the time to think about what we're doing with our cards, why we're doing it. Don't get too rushed. But a very interesting league. I would say a little bit of an underpowered league so far. Obviously, Ant is pretty strong against Depths. Fast combo can be a bit of a tough matchup. The Grixis player just didn't really get a good grip on the game. 1 to 5 in game 2. Burn, we were just quicker. Mono red there. Didn't really just have anything game 1, and then game 2 obviously just flooded. So I think those sort of games though are good reminders of just always respecting your opponent. Always thinking about, okay, we're in a fantastic position. How do we lose the game from here? And just making sure you're not sort of allowing yourself to move into that area. Yeah, it's nice to be back streaming. I'll hopefully continue this consistency of about twice a week leading up to Christmas. Might even try to get a few people on for a co-stream at some stage. But I think for now, just getting consistency back and enjoying Legacy again is always nice. All right. On the play, which is nice. With not the worst. And happy to keep this. Hey, Matt. Hope you're well. Hope the family's well. Hopefully Double Trouble isn't too bad. And yeah, hopefully catch you over the Christmas period. That'd be really nice. Drayton. I feel like we've played against Drayton before. We are just going to go with the classic Savannah into Dryad Arbor. Turn 2 Knight. Very nice. Opponent being a great sport. Alright, we can 6. Hey, Eureka. Really enjoying the pod. I really enjoy, as a fan of, what I'm going to say. Ooh. I think the Wasteland on Sav makes me think they have a Tabernacle line potentially, or just want to take us off multiple colors, but we'll see what happens here. Our Reclaimer is pretty nice. We get to go Taiga, play the Reclaimer, and then obviously even crop for Wasteland if they play a Tabernacle. Yeah, Legacy Small Talk is a fantastic podcast. I listen to it every night that I drive to. Ooh. Okay, so here before this taps for mana, I could Wasteland it. And then we could bog them just to keep them off that like loam life. If we crop away the Dryad Arbor, I guess they could have their own crop, which would be pretty brutal as well. So I think we actually just allow this. Loot. Yes. Name Reclaimer. Okay. I think in that case, we just want to get a knight into play and attack. Ooh. Okay, let's have a good think about what we can do here. So the Reclaim is obviously offline. I don't see ourselves moving towards the 2020 as a way to win this game because of just so many answers for them in Karakas or potentially Mazavith. So I do like the thought of getting rid of the Dryad Arbor here, just so we can turn the Reclaimer into a 3/4 before combat. And we're just going to get a Wasteland here. And then we are going to attack with the Reclaimer. They can't have Endurance, which is nice because they need double green. They can make a 3/3 construct, but nothing more. Like if they really wanted to, they could like pitch Endurance. No blocks. Okay. So let's... I think I'd rather get this Reclaimer into play than, say, copy their Saga with our own stage and then Wasteland it. Pretty happy to hit this. Pretty happy to play this. Oh, it costs 3. Interesting. Okay. Well, then I think our plan is just Safekeeper. Do we want to Wasteland them as well? I don't think so. I think one of the ways we probably lose this game is Tab. I think here I'm happy just to pass back. Loam. Okay. So we definitely want to stop this. So let's get rid of the Taiga. Get the Bog. And Bog them. We do have Prismatic Ending to get rid of the flute, which is kind of cool. Suns. Okay. That does allow us to get another Reclaimer into play, which is kind of nice. Hey, Lucky, very cool to see you. And very cool to see you. I was actually watching your recent return to Legacy with your goblins. I only made it into the deck tech and that to start this, but I will definitely watch it later on. So very cool to see you get it out before Eternal Weekend. Hey, a huge thank you, Mapson. Too kind. Too kind. Very much appreciate you. The question is, do I want to attack with the Knight? Well, actually, Green Suns. Oh, I think we found our line. I think it's definitely going to be Green Suns or Keen-Eyed, and then just use Knight to find mana to eat the loam. And I think here we're just going to get Forest. Just so it can't be interacted with. Eat the loam. Then I will attack here. They're going to block. Drop probably into Bog. I don't mind that. I don't mind getting rid of the Reclaimer that's obviously tied under this flute, so I think this is fine. Especially if it's a crop that is going to be defensive and not on the offense. I think we're pretty happy with that as well. Boots is okay. They have 2 cards left. But the boots is fine. Ooh. Interesting. We don't want to play it because obviously they can copy it, but at the same time, we have a lot of outs for it. We do also have just sack it to the Safekeeper, but that doesn't really do a whole lot. I think here, honestly, we just go eat land, eat instant, and eat creature, and then attack for 7. And to be fair here, the activated ability of Safekeeper is to sacrifice the land, so there's no great position where they can actually get this. So I think I'd rather just have this in play as fodder for the Safekeeper. Obviously, Maze of Ith is a target ability as well. They're going to copy this. I'm just going to... There's a few ways we could do this. We could allow this to happen, trigger the stage, and then get rid of it. But I think I would rather just allow them to sack it. So this, target this, get rid of this. And then we do have like Talon gates down the line. Yeah, very tough spot for them, but very happy to get out of that game one. It can be a little bit tricky game one, especially with a Tabernacle line, but obviously they didn't have it, so Morlock is a pretty easy cut. The libraries I don't mind, because typically if you're at 20 or 0, it doesn't matter too much. I really like the Force of Vigors and the extra endurance. The Ouphe is interesting, like it's probably a maybe. The Flutes are interesting as well, a lot of targets there. The Safekeeper, we didn't see a white source, I don't believe. But some decks do play Swords to Plowshares in the 75. I could see like a library coming out. Probably the Minsk. Icetill's obviously quite good. I could see like a Swords coming out. We just have more ways to deal with Saga tokens, which is nice. They bring in Dismember. Interesting. I find Ouphe can typically shut them down a lot more than shut us down. Have a quick look. We put this all in the sideboard. We have 60. We get to get one card. What would that card be? I definitely don't mind the second library as just a way to make sure we're seeing it pretty consistently. Want to keep all my lands, want to keep my fast mana. They probably play like Ouphe, Shadow Spear potentially. So maybe, yeah, maybe we just try out the Ouphe. Can be a little bit awkward against a deck that does go after our mana if we do have Mox Diamonds in hand but want to go for the Ouphe. Yeah, let's do it. One thing about both decks is that mana can be pretty tricky. So having access to Collector Ouphe to turn off Mox Diamond as one of their main sources of green is pretty good. Pretty happy to keep this. We have like turn 1 Dryad Arbor if we wanted to turn 2 Knight. We have turn 1 Reclaimer of the Forest, which is quite nice. They do go Saga here, so I'm actually going to try to just hit this straight away. Boom, boom. Probably getting rid of the Knight before they can tap this for mana. They have 1 mana left. They play an Exploration, and then they just pass. Okay. Pretty big turn for us. And like the crop off the top is really nice, so I think here I like building out mana. Being able to potentially Green Sun, potentially crop next turn and also hold up. The Reclaimer hold up crop is pretty nice. But sometimes that can just get it. And it did just get it. Those sort of starts can definitely just obviously really impact how lands can fly. So pretty happy to get the trophy. Very cool. I mean, we dropped a game to Ant, and that was it, which is kind of nice. Nice. Pretty cool. Obviously, like not like the top end of like Legacy in terms of top tier decks, but still like some pretty nice nice plays. Yeah, I thought this was pretty cool. I think there's probably a lot you could change around with the numbers. Like probably like is Morlock good enough for the main deck? Is like the extra Prismatic Ending? I do like both of these for Delver specifically, especially having a Green Sun's way to deal with a creature. We didn't really see the Icetill. Safekeeper's obviously also great. We didn't see Minsk. Minsk again being 4 mana, pretty tough, especially having the Icetill in here as well at 4 mana. I could definitely see the appeal of having a pretty like up to 3 CMC deck. But otherwise, it was pretty good. I did kind of miss the third Deafening Silence, but I think because we have so many pieces of combo that have to fit into the deck, or combo hate that I want, it's tough to be able to go a full 3 for one thing. Yeah, deck was sweet. We had pretty good mana. I think we mulliganed pretty well, just making sure that we knew what the plan was for the opening few turns instead of trying to keep a hand that like might get there if you top deck the color of choice land that you need. But very cool to see. Very cool to see. It is now 1 PM and I'm going to enjoy my day, and I hope you all do as well. A big thank you to the new followers, the new subscribers. A big shout out to those in here who do have some pretty great podcasts. Obviously, I've talked about the Legacy Small Talk. I have spoken about Eternal Witnesses before as well with Michael Mapson. Yeah, definitely check out and yeah, enjoy their content. It is of a really good quality, of course. I am gonna see who else is streaming and send you over there. It looks like Caleb's playing some Cube, which is cool. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much. Very cool to see Naya Depths do well, but definitely check out the Naya Depths Discord. The Lands Discord has a Naya section. A lot of very smart people on there with some different choices for cards as well. So if you don't like what you see in front of you, I am sure there is a list that you will like. So peace out. Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store, where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. All right, let's get right into it.